Use clear communication without hurting the other person by expressing your feelings. Whenever something goes wrong, you are also equally responsible. And stop blaming people. Life does not go forward if you blame. My name is Dr. Kailash Mantry. I am a life coach and a mental health consultant. For the last 25-30 years, we have been researching on mental illnesses and we have been successful in curing majority of them. Diseases like schizophrenia, bipolar, autism, ADHD, anxiety disorder, depression, insomnia, drug addictions, alcoholism, to some extent Parkinson, Alzheimer, stammering, epilepsy and many diseases. We have been able to cure them. We have found the formula, but duration cannot be set. Some disease take longer time and some disease gets cured in 2 months. So we cannot say what time it will take. It depends on how older the disease is, how strongly rooted the disease is, and how coachable are you, and how much concentration listing you have, and depends on many factors. How many years medicine you have taken. There are many factors. Today we'll be talking on a favorite topic of all serious mental patients, and the topic is blaming. They enjoy blaming. For 20, 30, 40 years they enjoy blaming. Let's understand what is blame, why people blame, what happens when you blame, and what is the final message for people who are blaming. So we cover these topics into 4-5 sections, and definitely it's a favorite topic for mental patients. That's why I've selected it. And we'll start with the story. One of the patients who came to us, they were a married couple. The lady got pregnant. She got first child, and immediately after 6 months, she conceived second child also. And she was blaming the husband that you are MBA finance and how come you do not know what precautions should be taken. He said, I told you within 3 months also go to a doctor and have that copper T applied so that it could be safe. But she did not listen to that advice and she blamed the husband for almost 3 to 5 years because the hardships she faced of having 2 children together, handling 2 children together was too much. And for 5 years she complained the husband that you are educated, you should have taken care of it. And the same way she used to blame her staff, her servants, her family members, her relatives, everywhere she used to blame. And that day I realized that blaming is a part of mental illness. Only when you are mentally weak, you blame, and definitely you are egoistic. If you are mentally weak, that means you are egoistic. So egoistic people, they blame, and mentally weak people, they blame, and they do not know the impact of it. It spoils relationship. The husband had created distance with the wife. He was talking everything with care. He had an affair outside his married life, and there were other complications which came into it. And for everything, the husband was responsible. Wife did not take responsibility for 10-15 years. Once she came for a treatment to us, then she realized no, it was her mistake, that because of her mistake the husband had an extramarital affair and he was not responsible for the second child. It was her negligence, but it takes time. It took really 1 month to make her understand that whenever something goes wrong, you are also equally responsible. And stop blaming people. Life does not go forward if you blame. Life goes forward only when you take responsibility. And there are 2 things. Accountability is different and responsibility is different. You cannot make anybody responsible for anything. You can make anybody accountable for anything. And accountability is beforehand and responsibility is later on. So let's understand what is blaming. Blaming is saying someone else is responsible for something which went wrong. It rarely happens. Only with low self-esteem people that they hold themselves as responsible. But it is very rare. And it is not in the category of mental illness category. Mentally person always holds somebody else responsible. So something has to go wrong and somebody else's presence must be there. Only when the 2 things are there, the blaming starts. If the glass is broken in the room and nobody else is there, still you can blame the servant was negligent in keeping the glass here, but there is nobody to blame at that moment. So someone has to be there and something must have gone wrong. Then the blaming starts. Blaming is always used to explain failure, mistakes or painful experiences. The lady was suffering because she could not handle 2 children at a time, and her painful experience she was expressing in the form of blaming. Blame can be direct, like, you are responsible, it is your fault, or it could be subtle also. If you had listened to me, this situation would not have come. But both the things, there is a blame. Blaming could be on some other person or maybe on circumstances, and very often it is on God also. People blame God also for their circumstances. Now let's take another question. When do people blame? After a mistakes, failure or conflict. Majority there. Only when any of these things are there, then they blame. Only when emotions like anger, shame, guilt are high. If you don't have these emotions, you do not blame. If you have positive emotions, you don't blame. Only when the person is egoistic. Only egoistic person blames. Only when the person is mentally weak, he will blame. Only when the person is negative, fearful, he will blame. Only when the person feels helpless, powerless, he will blame. Only when the person wants to protect their self-image, he will blame. So people who want to protect their self-image, they will blame. Only when there is a high pressure environment and the accountability is not clear. If the accountability is clear, you cannot blame anybody else. When it is easy to point fingers than to face truth. And very often mental patients, it's easy for them to point fingers than to face truth. They do not want to face the truth. Now let's come to another question. Why do people blame? To avoid responsibilities, or in other words to say, to protect their ego. To make sense of situations that look painful or unfair. To release emotional pressure, as if by blaming you have taken some action, but in fact you have not taken any action, you have created distance with the other person. Because of past experiences, people blame as a coping mechanism. In the past maybe many times they must have been blamed, and they carry that experience that blaming is the right strategy to avoid the situation, to avoid taking responsibilities. So as a coping mechanism, they also start, when they grow up, they also start blaming other people. Sometimes it is strategy used to control situations, to manipulate people, to make people feel guilty. Blaming is used. Now the next one is, where does blame show up? In relationship with partners, family members, relatives, friend circles, neighborhood, in co-working space, the boss, the colleague, the systems. In parenting, in marriages, it is often seen that people blame each other. Parents blame the children, and when the children grow up, they blame the parents. And in marriage, blaming is a very good game which is played, and there are many situations which go wrong. So husband is fast in blaming the wife, and the wife is also fast in blaming the husband for whatever wrong happens. In society also, people blame the leaders, people in the organization, and there is no situation where people are involved and the blame is not there. Sometimes internally also blaming yourself, but you were helpless, but you blame yourself that I should have done something. Now let's take another question. What are the effects of blaming? Blaming destroys relationship. It creates distance in relationship. It breaks trust. It blocks personal growth because there is no reflection. There is no taking any responsibilities. So if there is no reflection, you cannot grow. Blaming increases resentment, guilt, anger in you, keeps people stuck in the past, and they don't move, they don't grow, makes conflict harder and difficult to resolve conflicts. Now let's take another question. How to let go of blames? Pause and reflect before reacting. Ask yourself, what are you feeling? You can express your feeling without blaming. Focus on solutions instead of problems. Take responsibility for your part without feeling guilty. Practice empathy, that is understanding the other person's world whom you are holding responsible, seeing his perspective also, why he did what he did. Use clear communication without hurting the other person by expressing your feeling. Forgive other people, not that they deserve, but you deserve peace, and that's the reason why you should forgive other people. And yourself also, if you are blaming yourself, let go of the need to be right. Growth should be more important than being right. And my final message, blame may feel like power, but you are stuck, you cannot grow. And the truth is, it is not power, it is powerlessness, it is helplessness. Releasing the habit of blaming is not weakness, it is maturity, it is awareness, it is your strength. Only person who is strong can stop blaming other people. The goal is not to avoid responsibilities, but to respond with honesty and truthness. Letting go of blaming nature heals your wound faster, builds better relationship. You grow deeper, stronger. You cannot control the situations, the circumstances, but you can choose how you remember the situation, the circumstances, how you carry it on in your life. And lastly, I would say that Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times when he was developing bulb. He did not blame anybody and he was very positive. And he said, I have learned 10,000 ways how bulb cannot be made, and finally was successful. So if you also stop blaming and being positive in whatever situation you are happening, although there are some mistakes, there are some failures, there are some conflicts, and if you pause and reflect, you will come out of the situation very strongly, and your maturity will be better and your life will be worth living. Thank you.